Alright, gamers, good friends, good people, viewers, and Garda, to the second episode of the Xeritent, the fabled second episode, never before done second episode, but this time in video form, with me reading it to you, instead of you reading it without me. We will be looking at the group stage games. The games that were played between when I first made my medium to when I first made my YouTube video, which is now. We're going to go into first Group A, which featured Nearly Tilted, Purdue University, and then the two newcomers, Quarantine Gamers and Remove Radiance from the game, who I will be referring to as RR. First game we're looking at here is the finals of this game, which was the Nearly Tilted versus Remove Radiance here, and we're seeing a complete handle that Nearly Tilted did here, confirming their 2-0 and their first seed in the group. Game 1, you saw Itachi on the OD, picked a weird hero. It's okay into troll. I understand where he was coming from with it. However, I do not think that hero was really pickable, and that's what we saw here. You saw 8 deaths, and probably 6 of them were from force tests advancing forward. And then Game 2 was a simple outclass. They kept trying to kill the Striker's Dragonite, and it never worked out for them. Leading into our bottom group here, which decided the second seed, which was Remove Radiance and Quarantine. This game here, Game 1, it was a close one. You saw the Bristleback really control the tempo of the game. He was 1v90 the whole time. He was unkillable for the enemy team, and he had the boys on the bristly back. Game 2, however, Remove Radiance came back. We saw a better game out of Stalin. We saw a great game out of Itachi Morphling, and Quarantine Gamers was just really missing a step. Something with maybe the Axe and the Rubik lane didn't really go well, and it just freed up the game for the rest of the things. That led to the Game 3, which was controlled by the Night Stalker completely. The guy brought it to the safe lane, brought out the 18-3 Bud Light spawns for me. Group B we're going into now. This is the group obviously with the Knights of Albert, Streamer Sims, Meat Sweats, and Weirdhead. Weirdhead versus Meat Sweats was probably the first notable game, but it's not the game I'm going to be covering. These guys picked Lone Druid 3 times. First game, he did manhandle us. Going into Game 2 and Game 3, it was a completely different story. But now we're going to look at the big upset. The biggest upset of the group stage here for League of Lads, and that was Knights of Albert and the Streamer Sims. Streamer Sims brought out tactics. They brought out the Tidehunter position 5 played by Thadpole, as you see above me, which will always be Game 1. To my side will be Game 2. Game 1, they did the misinformation of killing Clankers 11 times, and they somehow worked. That's the first time I've seen Clankers feed away a game and actually cost some team the game. Garda did well. Ultra Gunner was never able to pick up the game from the ending, as he was just getting mauled by the bear. Probably the introductory of how scary the bear was in the game to the league. Game 2 was pretty much the same story. They addressed the Ursa ban, picked up a Luna for Ultra Gunner. Ultra Gunner did very well for the most of the game, but the Brave Brave Clinks was too much for them to handle in the end, and it decided the series going 2-0 to the Streamer Sims. And then we go into Group B, the finals, which was the Meat Sweats, the Meat Men, facing them against the Streamer Sims. However, Streamer Sims were replacing Thadpole with Gilga. And, that's a big loss for them because they're losing their Tidehunter pick, which would in response to probably be a Tidehunter ban on Game 1, which again is above us. So we gave them the Ursa and we beat it around with the Worst Boy Storm Spirit and then the Luna. And then Game 2, they just blundered away and gave the Grimstroke Ricky. Ricky is a hero that Double King is not really allowed to play ever in the league. And there's a reason for it. 18-2, top damage in the game, balled out of control. Looking now at Group C, we're looking at the first notable game being the Westside Wombats versus Banana Hammock. Banana Hammock, huge underdogs. As far as MMR goes, they're about lower half of the pack, but they upset, what are they, top 5 favorites? Westside Wombats, the admin team between Call and Fatalness. Game 1, we saw another scary Ursa pick. Teams have not figured the hero out at this stage of the tournament. Going into Game 2, Westside Wombats brought out the MVP's Spectre, along with a great Witch Doctor game from USS Guam, the Guamster, pulling the boys on the back. And then we look at the Game 3. In the Game 3, they gave out something I don't think Jaw will ever play again with the Naga Siren. Naga controlled the whole game. Jar had an okay game on Necro. His KDA is a little inflated. I don't think he was dominating the game the way other heroes that go 11-3 are. Next, we're going to look at the finals of this group, which would be the Banana Hammock, obviously, against Eastside Enchiladas, also known as Smack's team. Game 1, I think Smack who drafted this? Brightside just picked wrong heroes. They gave up again. Ursa, another upset hero win. And Jar actually had a dominating game on the Dragon Knight compared to his Necro game. This game, it was Jar winning compared to him just getting a lot of kills. Game 2, however, Sev, the Virgin, last picking TA. I think 21 picking TA, and he really did control the game the whole time. As you see, the 14-1. Ice Yeti did okay oppressing people with the Razor. Smack, I think, had a really big echo that game, but again, it didn't really matter. It's all up to the TA, just 1v9ing the game. And then finally, we see the Game 3 Ice Yeti CK game. If you haven't watched this game, you should. You'll see that Job played the carry Bristleback and was absolutely shut down by Filsky and Mr. Smack Tricks there himself. Now we're looking at the last group, which consists of Eternal Kings, Animal Control, Polar Ass, and Moonlight. And we're showing the Moonlight versus Polar Ass 3-game upset that Moonlight pulled off. Game 1, Beast Unit kind of showed his coming-to-age game. This was his, I'm here, I've arrived. You need to start paying attention to me. Game 2, Nika turned it around with Anti-Mage. It was kind of a free game. As far as Anti-Mage games goes, there was no pressure. There's no incentive by Moonlight ever. They gave the guy time to farm the whole time. And now looking at Game 3, you're seeing the failed Meeple pick. I think it was a 21 pick Meeple in which they were able to respond. There's something, I don't remember. But anyways, Nexus was able to outlast with Terrorblade, and they eventually killed their Fountain. It was a really long game, really well cast by Killer Karate and Subject, I believe. But that leads us to the finals of Group D, which was Eternal Kings and Moonlight. And Eternal Kings, I'm still waiting to be tested before I put them too high on any kind of list. I don't think Moonlight really gave them a big challenge. Nexus and Beast Unit, again, had good games, but I think they were outliers. I think Eternal Kings, if they don't pick Slark and Tiny, they probably win this game, as we see from the previous games coming up. Game 2, they go a little more standard with Luna, Tidehunter, and the Mid-Nature's Prophet, which is again coming. It's not come to this league yet, but it is in the Dota 2 community where Mid-Nature's Prophet is controlling the game. And you're seeing domination on the side. Nexus 0-7, Stormcode 1-6, Jax on the offlane Quap 3-2. Just nobody doing anything ever. And then we're looking at Game 3 finally in the bottom left. And it was just an anti-mage game. Again, there was no incentive by Moonlight. Moonlight never pushed any tempo. They gave AM time to farm. They let them win 4v5. And that is currently where we stand. And next, and now, we will be looking at the team power rankings. Now, to remind you guys what power rankings are, these are not standings. These are the strength of the teams that I think they are. How I do this is I put a team at the bottom. I see if the team on top can beat you, that team goes below you. And I keep doing that until I'm satisfied with 1 through 16. Now, to get stuff started, we will be looking at the brackets. And now, a big part of the power rankings also is I use how you move forward in the brackets. So, example of this, you're gonna see. We're gonna get to it. I'm not gonna spoil anything. You will see how I mean about the brackets, and I will try to mention that as far as who they're playing, who they fall into, and that is a determining factor in where you land up on the power rankings. Also, it is not a huge factor. I usually look at the first round games to see more or less what you're looking at, but nevertheless, at 16, we have Smooth Steve and the Yacht Rock Experience. Smooth Steve, if you look up, they're playing Streamer Sims. Streamer Sims beat Knight of Albert. They looked okay they looked really good in that game, and they looked okay with the stand-in in. I'm assuming they're going to have that pull back for that series, but even if not, I still think Streamer Sims can put them out of control, and I don't think that the roster that Smooth Steve and the Yacht Rock Experience has can do any damage to Streamer Sims. We're going to see another unsatisfying end of the season for Baker and Ned, but that's what we deal with here. Looking next, we're looking at JJ, Drago, KL, Nox D, and Luca for the Animal Control. They were unsatisfied in their GSL style group stage. They didn't win a game. They had to forfeit their series against Polar Ass. and that's not a good look for you. However, if I was putting a best of 3, I do think they would outskill the Smooth Steve and the Yacht Rock experience. That's why they're at 15. I do think they're playing a similar story. I do think they're playing a similar story and that they cannot beat their opponent they're playing against in Moonlight. But I do think that series will be a hell of a lot closer than it is against Yacht Rock and Streamer Sims. Next, we're looking at Purdue University. Obviously, University team, they're a little lower MMR, but they are well coached, being coached by Blitz. I don't think that's still going on, but that still does give you a little bit of a handle. However, they are running into an absolute unit of a team, probably the best team out of these lower 8 in Banana Hammock, and that's why they're low on here. It's going to be unfortunate for them, but I do see them losing quite convincingly to the Banana Hammockers. Next, we're looking at Weirdhead. And Weirdhead still has not had their coming, they haven't got their series win yet. They've looked good in most of their games. Quiz had some good TB games. He had some good Lone Druid games. But we're still waiting for the other 4 people to show up. Noir, Tint, Turtle King, Aurora, they're all capable players, but they have not shown the skill to actually win a game when it matters yet. And they're running into Remove Radiance. Remove Radiance, they had claim to being a 2nd seed this year. They didn't do well, obviously, ending up in the lower bracket, but maybe they could have got there. And next, we are looking at Remove Radiance. I do think they are rightfully here. This team has not played well together. Itachi's team, Stalin, I think, made his debut 2 series ago when we're like 7 series in or something. And there is, maybe not confirmed, but I do believe their 5-player Claire is leaving. However, Reza can win games. Probably one of the better players in the league. It's just unfortunate these guys don't really communicate in the Discord. They're missing stuff. They haven't had a memorable win yet. And that might be a fault of the groups, being that they're in a group with Quarantine and Nearly Tilted. But they're not impressing anybody yet with any of their wins. Next, we're going into the next team, which will be Moonlight. Moonlight, I casted a game of theirs with Cut and Fatalness, and that was the rematch between Polar Ass. Moonlight was able to play a series in this time. Polar Ass had to wait and get the forfeit win earlier from Animal Control. And Moonlight to me looks passive. It looks like they lack incentive, something with their captaining, their leadership. I see a lot of stuff wrong with this team, and I feel like I could put these guys lower, truthfully, too. They looked like they got embarrassed in both their games against Polar Ass, and those are recent games. Memory sticks. Obviously, I remember those way more than I remember the games that they beat Polar Ass, even though those were quality wins. However, I do not think Moonlight will do well going forward. They'll probably beat Animal Control, but then it's going to get into beating the upper bracket teams, and they don't seem skilled enough to do it. Next, we're going into Streamer Sims. I believe this is at 10. 9? 10? Something. I don't. Who fucking cares numbers? Streamer Sims with Thadpool. It's very important for them to have their Tidehunter pick player. This team scrims a lot, they try a lot, they play a lot, and that's going to give them success in here. They do have kind of a free first round win as far as the lower bracket goes, but then they're going to start beating upper bracket teams, and I think they can do it. They looked very good against Knights of Albert when they did have their full 5, but we have not seen that 5 since. Next, we're running into the Quarantine Gamers. Quarantine Gamers consist of a new roster of Foom, Dashi, Devidan, Voldrax, Journey. This is the team with the position 1 Night Stalker pick against Remove Radiance. And they have I believe this is the team with the Bristleback player 2 is level 25. But I'm still not impressed with these guys. Their wins didn't look clean. Maybe game 3 you can argue looked clean, but they didn't look good. They haven't looked good. They haven't got a good win over a good team, as you can see with how low I've removed Radiance. And this is, again, power. I don't think the quality wins do matter. Next, we are looking at Polar Ass. Polar Ass is the first upper bracket team on the list. But they're running into Meat Sweats. And then if they do win that game, Quarantine Gamers and Eastside Enchiladas. But Polar Ass, it's really hard to read their skill level, because if they do show up, they are very strong, as witnessed by Moonlight. However, I think this has a knock on Moonlight and not a convening factor for Polar Ass. They did lose a series to Moonlight when Moonlight was a little more in practice, maybe, and when they weren't getting cheesed. But as of right now, Polar Ass has the big loss to Moonlight. They didn't look that good in it, And I think they're going to have a hard time getting out of the first round, obviously, against the Meats. So that's what I have to root for because that's my boys. Next, we're seeing the last lower bracket team in Banana Hammock. And Banana Hammock has won quality games. They've beat Westside Wombats. They beat ESE, who is the only team in the 1C determining games that did make it a best of 3. And they made it hard for them. Banana Hammock has a very good carry player in Jaw. Jaw is starting to show up. And we're seeing kind of dangerous stuff coming out of them. The drafts are looking a lot solid. Their 4 and 5 player haven't had memorable games, but that's a good thing also because that means they're not ruining games for their homies. And I see Banana Hammock doing some damage out of this lower bracket, maybe upsetting an upper bracket team. And next we are getting into the meat men. I have this as a 1 seed being this low. You'll see when I'm in top 4. It's gonna be a hard road. It's gonna be a hard road for us. We obviously have a weaker roster than we did with our championship roster, replacing Garda and Clankers with Birdman and Mossie. However, we still have Rice Boy, Double King. He's got 4 digits in his MMR, so maybe we don't have him, but he's technically still there. But anyways, again, it's still super hard to talk about my own team, but that's what you're gonna get. And next, we're looking at Eternal Kings, and they're the most boring 1 seed I've ever seen. They had kind of a cakewalk of a bracket. And, they got here by playing, I think, Smooth Steven Moonlight. And then, again, they drew lower round teams, being again, Moonlight, Animal Control, Polar Ass. Like, that's not a hard group for them to play. They don't have to play Polar Ass, which was the one team that could probably beat them in that group, in which I did have them beating in the group, but then obviously Polar Ass got upset. Eternal Kings is still waiting for that quality win. You're seeing that their opponent, Knights of Albert, is not on the list yet, which means I have them losing to them. And I see them doing some damage in the lower bracket, but I don't think they can outlast it. And next, we will be looking at KOA Knights of Albert. We're seeing Garda getting into fashion, getting into comfort with what he's picking. He's doing good. He's controlling the game. They looked great, real good with Fatal Uno replacing Brody. I don't know if that's the roster going forward, but that did look good for them. And I think it's going to be hard for them to lose many games in the finals. They're still going to the finals. They're still a higher MMR team. I think they're damn near at the upper limit. And they're going to be well versed. Clankers is going to have a good playoff series. Garda's always going to do good. Ultra Gunner's been here. He's won playoff rounds before. Next, we're getting into the Westside Wombats, the home of the 2-time MVP. Do not fucking forget it. I will come to you if you forget it. Fatalness and Co. It might be a little trouble in paradise, but they're still quality winners. The Westside Noahs are going to win games. Even if they do lose their first round and nearly tilted, they probably will end up top 3. They will run the table out of lower bracket. This team does do better when they play more games in a row, and that's what you're going to get running in a nearly tilted first round. Westside Wombats, they might not win their first round. Even if they do, they're probably going to cruise into finals. If they start in lower bracket, they're going to do damage. They're going to knock out teams they shouldn't. As far as their MMR stands and their second seed, they will do good. And next, we're running the Eastside Enchiladas. I think their carry player Ice Yeti. I don't know if that guy's died more than 5 times this whole year. And that's a huge tribute to the 4 and 5 on that team, Smack and Brightside. These guys are controlling games. They probably have the best 3-4-5 combo in the league. Maybe challenged by Westside Wombats. But again, these support combos do matter. And that leaves obviously in the last slot, nearly tilted. Again, Pattern Near, 2 best core player combos in the league. Or one of the best. They're up there. However, compared to a team like my team, like Meat Sweats or Knights of Albert, there's no weak slot on this team. The 3-player strikers, probably one of the best offlaners in the league. Their 4-player Silver Pike, probably one of the best 4 players in the league. And their 5-player Hype, probably again one of the best 5 players in the league. And that's where we're seeing them at. That's why they're number 1 on the power ranking list. It's going to be an upset whoever they lose to. It's going to be harder, and it's going to be nearly tilted losing the game, probably by near being tilted, as the name state goes. And next, we're going to be looking at the player power rankings. So now, with the power rankings, the player power rankings, these are opinionated. That means me, this fucking idiot, is making this list. It is not fact-checked. It is an opinion. It is also excluding players from my team, the Meat Sweats. That is purely, solely for the fact I don't want to listen to a stupid fucking 13-year-old cry about him being lower on the list than Rice Boy. So now, let's get this fucking thing started. Coming in, number 16, we got Beast Unit off of Moonlight. Moonlight rides the back of this guy, so I'm going to put him on the list. He's had a good Monkey King game. He's had some good games. He had an okay Quap game against Polar Ass in the rematch. But besides that, he hasn't really stood out. But he has had good games, and that is important. That's why he's on the list. Coming in at number 15, we have Ice Yeti. I don't have the record book in front of me, but I bet you that Ice Yeti is probably bottom 3 in Desper of the league. The guy doesn't die. However, he's getting heavily docked on this list because he's on such a good team, and he's not the best player on that team. He's not the most impactful player on that team, I meant to say, sorry. Ice Yeti, he's going to be good. He's going to do well in the playoffs. He's going to have good games, but he's not going to be spectacular where you're like, wow, god damn, that boy's good. Next, we're moving to the Fatalness. The 2-time, back-to-back, 2-time, repeating, stacked resume champion. The carry player for West Side Wombats. He's making the run. He's making the list. Number 14. Again, he's having okay games. He's not doing spectacular. He has, I think, the kill record right now. Again, he's played more games, yada yada. Fatalness is impressive, but again, the team has a lot of good players. It's a well-rounded team, and he's not a standout player on the team. So again, he's on the list, but he's lower on it. Next, we're making a newcomer to the list, our first newcomer, and Striker's the offlane player for Nearly Tilted. He stepped up, and again, this is judged on his ability to captain and draft for the team. His team is innovating drafts. They're not losing any drafts. They're doing quite well. He had a dominating Dragon Knight game, and he had an okay other hero game. Again, Strikers hasn't had a bad game yet. He's doing well in every game, and he's owning. Next, we're looking at DOS, the carry play from Eternal Kings. They're the 1 seed. They have, again, just a lackluster resume so far in the league. DOS can go up very easily once he gets a standout win. Especially now that he's in the upper bracket of the game, he's going to run into the top 8 teams, obviously. It can move up and down depending on how those games go. And next, we're moving into Ka. 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 And now we're on to Pattern at number 10. Pattern, again, coming from a long history of RD12 mid laners that are sandbagging to get into sandbagging their MMR. They're better players with their MMR stands. I think he's at like 5,700 MMR. I've heard peaks that he's got to like 68, 65. And again, I believe it. The guy's good. He's doing quite well in every game for Nearly Tilted. He's making the rest of the game pretty easy for everybody. However, he's not even close to the best player on that team. There's still 2 standouts on that team that way outshine him. But I think if you throw him on some of these bottom teams, he would carry them to some victories, and that's why he stands here number 10. Next, we're getting with the position 5 player for the Knights of Albert in Nephilim. This is the first position 5 player on here. Nephilim, he's doing quite well for them. He's helping Ultra Gunner a lot in his lanes. I'm learning some stuff from him, so that's obviously going to put him on the list. But again, he is not standing out over the other sacks of his teammates. He's not picking anything that's kind of ruining the other team's game. He is just being a nice, conservative, quality player. He's not making mistakes for his team that's, running for other people. And next we have a big jumper on here in Quiz. Quiz wasn't even on my radar before this league started. Fatalness warned me of this player and said, the league's over, this guy's going to do it to us. And he has kind of done it to us. He had a very good Terrorblade game against Knights of Albert. He had 3 great Lone Druid games against us. So again, Quiz, if he finds a team, maybe he sneaks on Smack's team or he sneaks on Westside Wombats or something of this sort, he can be dangerous. He can do a lot of work here. But again, I think his team is really holding him back from getting any higher in higher in the bracket, getting on a better team. But right now, Quiz is number 8 on my list. I can see him going up and down either way. And next we have another big jumper in Ja. Ja, obviously this is getting a lot carried from his performances against Westside Wombats. He had 3 spectacular games. He just had good games against me. He had good games against Eastside Enchiladas. He is doing quite well for himself. Ja comes in at number 7. At number 6, we have a newcomer. Again, a super high jump in Hype. Hype I was suspicious of at first. I thought he was just the 5 player for Nearly Tilted. He wasn't really doing super hot. He wasn't doing super well, but Hype's here. Hype is outperforming everybody. He is dominating his lanes. He's being efficient in his lanes. He's doing fucking great. And next, coming in at number 5, we have SP Silver Pike. Again, same stuff I can say about everybody else. He's outperforming people. He's dominating out of the 4 position for the Nearly Tilted. And he looks good. He sets tempos. He controls games. You can put him on lower teams, and he's going to stand out even more. Again, he's getting a little lower down because he's on such a great team, so it's hard to put him above other people. Coming in at number 4, we have that guy. Coming in at number 3, we have Noah, the offlane player for the Westside Noahs. Noah, standout, does good, but I haven't seen it this week from him. Or this group stage from him. It hasn't been him dominating. It's been a lot of MX Squire, a lot of Ka, a lot of fairness. Noah in preseason bracket looked really good. He was making claims to be the best player in the league. Again, he's still number 3. He's still up there. He's still doing well, but he isn't dominating the same way he was earlier. But he's still doing quality games. He's still having them on their back, but he's still contributing heavily to their team. He's still doing very good in every game he's doing, but they're not on his back. And next, at number 2, we have Sev sneaking up a slot. And Sev's had some good games. He's done real well. He has impacted games more than Noah has. He's had a dominating TA game. He's just had dominating performance for a lot of games. Again, Smack's team a little more challenged than they were. They lost their game to Banana Hammock, but this isn't on the fault of Smack. Smack is doing what he's supposed to do. Again, he had that great TA game, then he had a great Pango game. And you still need to ban his Void Spirit first game. Some team's going to forget that, and he's going to get it. And then we're going to remember, hey, this guy might be really fucking good. And then again, number 1, we've seen it before. It's going to be Nier. Best player in the league that I can put on the list. He's the best player by far that I can put on the list. And he's just doing well. He's winning games he's supposed to. He's being the best player in every game he's supposed to. He has not got outshined once. He's put on great games in every game he's played so far. No players look better than him, and you can say that about the people on this list going through 2 through 16. You can say, oh, well, in this one game someone played better than him, and that's not the case with Nier. Nier is controlling everything. He's out carrying. He's putting up good KDAs. He's putting up good last hits. He's putting up good tower damage. He's doing everything you're supposed to do, and that is why Nier is number 1 on the list. So now that rounds out and ends the Xeri content for this week. Fuck Smack.